Hey you guys, Amelia here. So I've had a lot of requests from you guys this show season to do a voiceover on one of my rides with my horses. So today I'm going to do a voiceover on Kensington. He's my 6-year-old. I'm riding the FEI 6-year-old test. So give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Also check out the links below. I have a course on training level, first level and second level, and then I also have a workshop on competition and test riding. So if you're showing this year, those resources can be really helpful. Also, for those of you that aren't showing, which is totally fine, it's still really good to kind of pick a level, learn a test, ride through the test, because the tests are really designed to help you train your horse. So I encourage you to do that even if you're not showing. So this is a video of me riding Kensington at the horse show last weekend. We did the FEI 6-year-old test, and I wanted to put this one out to you guys because going into the test, I wasn't so confident about it. Like, I wasn't sure if it was going to work out. His changes are still kind of green. He's a 6-year-old, and the FEI 6-year-old test is really a challenging test. You have to do shoulder in and half pass and flying changes. So I kind of had my doubts about like whether or not I should even do the test. And I actually, when I entered the show, I entered the 6-year-old class, and then I also entered a 3rd level test, so that I kind of had the option to choose if I wanted to do the 6-year-olds or if I wanted to do 3rd level. But the 6-year-old class was at 9:30 in the morning, and 3rd level ended up being at 4:30. So my husband was like, well, I guess that kind of decided for you. So before we get started, it's important to know that the 6-year-old test is scored a little bit differently, which is actually a really cool thing. So the way the 6-year-old test is scored is that you get a score for the walk, you get a score for the trot, you get a score for the canter, you get a score for submission, and you get a score for general impression. You only get those 5 scores. So you do not get scored on each specific movement. What this allows, it allows you as the rider, since you're on a young horse and a big moving horse, to really kind of show off the gaits and to not have to ride everything like perfectly accurately. So I'll explain where I take a little leeway as far as the geometry to set him up as best as I can for the changes, and then also talk you through just a little bit like what's going through my head and what I'm doing to support him, because he's young, he's a little nervous. On the first day at the show, he got like kind of spooked by a tent in the wind. So I was doing a lot to kind of hold him together and give him confidence and get through the test. And then at the end, stick around, you'll hear the judge give me the comments and the scores. So yeah, it turned out better than I thought, but I'm gonna talk you guys through what I'm doing as I go through the ride. I hope you like it. Okay, here we go. So you could see as I go by the judge's booth, Kensington kind of puts his head up. He's just a little nervous. So it's always important to remember to pet your horse and give them confidence in the show ring. And now you see I'm doing a little rising trot just to get really the trot that I want to show off his expression, to give him a little freedom and confidence to lift his back and go forward before turning up the center line. It's always important, particularly with a big moving young horse like Kensington, that I'm really planning ahead and helping him to stay organized. So going into the first halt here, I'm really trying to keep him straight. That halt was a little bit abrupt. You saw he kind of like went down in front, and then he managed to halt square. But now I know he's a little backed off, so I need to think about gradual downward transitions. So going through the corner again, I'm really focusing on keeping him up, turning across the diagonal for the medium trot, keeping him up. He has a big, powerful hind leg, so sometimes he likes to curl a little bit. And then again, every time going across the short side, I'm trying to show off his nice silhouette and his uphill balance and his nice frame, because when you go across the short side, that's what the judge is looking at. Shoulder and left, I really focus on keeping the shoulder off of the rail, keep a steady 3 tracks. And then for the circle, you always want to think about keeping the inside ear up. So for the circle and the half pass, really think about the positioning and the bend and the inside ear up the highest point. Every corner and every turn is so important. So like going through the corner there, I was really keeping him uphill balance so I could get this nice medium trot out of him. And that was a really quite good medium trot. I had a little bobble there you saw coming back from the medium trot where he almost walked a few steps. And that's just, you know, he's green, he's young. I haven't shown him in many months. So again, like I said, he's a little bit backed off, a little behind my leg. So I have to change how I'm riding. So same thing for the circle. I'd like him to stay, he could stay a little more up. You know, that's, I think, the hardest thing with him right now is that he is still a little weak behind, so he likes to go down in front. But I'm just really, as I'm going through this ride, like trying to remember to breathe and give him confidence and set him up for success. So for the free walk, I really want to get him straight. So I'm looking at the letter, I think I'm going to E there. I'm looking at E. I'm keeping E between his ears. I'm really swinging in my hips and following in my elbows to get as nice of a walk as possible. And then as I'm taking up the reins for the medium walk, I'm thinking of a little bit shoulder 4. I'm using that turn there to help get him back up and collected for the medium walk. And then I have my walk pirouettes coming up. So again, I'm thinking of shoulder 4. I'm thinking of keeping him up and round through the walk pirouettes and really helping to keep his hind legs active. That's the most important thing in the walk pirouettes, is that you want the hind legs to stay stepping up and down in place. And then I have a canter transition coming up rather quickly. So I'm trying to set him up in enough time. And just, I mean, my biggest thing in this test is like, we can do this, Kensington. Let's give him the confidence. So now I have on the half circle a little bit of a medium canter. And I remember thinking here, like I would have liked him to go a little bit more forward, but I didn't really have him uphill balanced enough. He was a little tight in the back. So I was thinking, oh gosh, I hope that my flying changes work. So then on the half diagonal, I have my flying change. You can see me pushing him off my left leg and really getting him into that right rein for the flying change to happen. And then I make sure to pet him when he does the flying change, because he's pretty green in the flying changes, and that was really pretty good flying change. So then again, I go on the half diagonal, and now I have the flying change to the right. This test is just like full of flying changes. You could see me tip a little forward off my seat in that flying change, which wasn't the greatest thing, but I just really was kind of praying that they were going to happen. I wasn't really sure if they were going to. So now I go up the center line and then come back to the rail, and then I'm supposed to do the flying change on the rail before the corner. You notice how I stayed a little bit off the rail there, because if I get him too close to the rail, then he really can't do the flying change. Now I have a medium canter going down the long side. So again, I'm just trying to keep him up. I'm thinking about shoulder 4. That's really important, the straightness, because if your horse goes crooked, then they are going to go down in front, and you're not going to have a nice medium canter. So I have one more change, but I got him too close to the rail, and then he kind of got spooked and just stopped there. So I quickly just cantered so that I could at least show my canter trot transition that I had there at C, and then up and round and one more medium trot. It's so important to just forget the mistake and keep riding and finish your test on a good note. So a nice medium trot. I'm really thinking about my seat, trying to ride from my seat and not get too handsy, which is always hard for me. When I get a little nervous, we all just want to hang on the bit. And you could see this last halt, I made sure to kind of think more forward into the halt so that he didn't stop so abruptly like he did at first. So that's my ride on Kensington. It's hard to talk through it. Like I can barely say the words fast enough for everything that I'm thinking. Like, when I was in that test, I was so much in the moment and riding every stride with him and feeling what was happening, and if I needed to half halt or if I needed to activate him or where I needed to keep him more uphill. So there was a lot going on, like I said, because he's green, because he needed that support. I honestly was considering that maybe I should scratch, because there's a balance with these horses, and you want to push them and you want them to make progress, but you don't want to over push them to where they have a bad experience or things go badly in the show ring. So that's always a little bit of a fine line, but I was super happy with how well Kensington did. And I think really what made the difference is, one, my warm-up. So in the warm-up, I really made sure to get him forward and loose and supple, and my husband was there helping me, so he kind of coached me through how to do that. And then the second thing was just my confidence. So I was kind of on the fence about whether or not I should, do this or show him, or if it was too much for him, or if he was ready. I was not really sure. But once I got on him, I told myself, like, I have to let that go. Like, if I got on him and was like, I don't know if we can do this, it wouldn't have happened. So once I got in the saddle, I was like, okay, we're doing this. You can do it. I have confidence in you. Let's do this. Let's go get him. And that really was the key. And Kensington rose to the occasion. He is still very young and innocent, but because of that, he really looks to me for the leadership. So when in this test, I just kind of like buck up and ride and let's do this, he came along with me, which was really exciting and really fun. So I'm going to let you listen now to the judges' comments. So you'll hear her talk to me and actually give me the scores, which is kind of a cool thing. I'll show you the score sheet, and then, let me know if you like this format of videos, and be sure to check out the links below for the workshops and the courses that I have about test riding. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching today.
One of the first things we were saying about him in a really smiling way was he's a teenager right now. And
a very
handsome teenager with a lot of self-confidence that we like a lot. He's pretty consistent across the board, which is lovely. His trot, he showed clear, consistent balance and scope. We thought he could be more uphill
at times.
All the time. We had moments where he was super uphill, and so we know it's there. So that's a strength issue. He showed clear rhythm. So for his trot in 8-1. For his walk, he had elastic ground cover. We gave that an 8-2. For the canter, he really shows secure balance in the canter.
More in the beginning than the end.
And engagement, and showed expression and some expression in the changes. He has a confident change. We had this one little, but really he doesn't look worried about it. He looks confident about it. We felt like he started to get a little tired. We kept it at an 8-1. But clearly the quality is clearly there. And so in the submission, we did feel like he got a little bit tired, but he did show a consistent, honest connection. His mouth was quiet. He was honest. He showed a good work ethic. 8 for submission. And then with the little stuff. And then the perspective, he's powerful, he's impressive. He has 3 solid gaits. We gave an 8-2. We really appreciated you bringing him back.
Thank you.
You two does well.